Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Y'all asked for it. It's here. It's the SEC Roundtable. We've got Billy representing LSU, the Tigers. We got BA representing to Texas A&M Aggies. It's cool to have you brothers back on. I know we've been keeping in touch, but the people haven't seen y'all in a minute. Billy, BA, what's going on? Billy, how you doing, man?
Good, man. It's good to be back. It's good to visit with you boys. I know we stay in touch offline, but it's nice to get back up here. And uh, that discussion is more just friends talking, but this is a little more, talking about our teams, discussing our upcoming season. So I'm looking forward to it, man. Excited. Good to be back.
Indeed. BA, what say you, sir?
Man, like Billy said, it's good to do this again. It's been way too long. Life's been lifing, but hey, grateful to be here and chop it up with you boys once again.
Amen. Amen. And as you guys are coming into the chat, y'all know what to do. You know how we take attendance. Dust your feet off. Hit that like button. It is critical to help with the algorithm, the growth of this channel. Hit that like button. And also, it's free to show love. Subscribe. Help us out. We are trying to get to 15,000 subscribers by Texas versus Ohio State, August 30th. Billy's team has a big game on August 30th as well. Death Valley versus Death Valley, Tigers versus Tigers. Y'all know what that one's about, the night game that day. But that's when we're trying to get to 15,000 subscribers. So hit the subscribe button. I got a lot more stuff coming at you. We're trying to stay consistent over here. I really, really appreciate it, but I'm going to need y'all's help. It is going to be a hell of an effort to get there, but I know we can do it collectively as we get closer to the start of the season. Billy, I'm going to start with you in terms of LSU. First off, congratulations to the LSU Tigers baseball team getting it done over Coastal Carolina 2-0 in the College World Series in the final in Omaha. Congratulations. You guys are what, eight? That's your eighth national
That's right.
championship in baseball. Absolutely incredible. You guys are dominating the sport. Like, from a historical standpoint, obviously, two national championships in the last, 3 years,
Yeah.
two national championships under this particular head coach who's only been at your school for 4 years.
Right.
And it seems like y'all are just humming over there. So congratulations, man. Shout out to LSU baseball, Billy.
Yeah, well, appreciate it, man. Yeah, and this is, anytime you get a natty champ, it's always feels good, man. And yeah, watching the World Series and you sit through those games. I mean, it's tense moments over and over again. Really what I think when Jay Johnson showed up on campus, his work ethic and his understanding of baseball as a whole and the team aspect of that is really shown, and he gets it. And so just oh, what's up, Tran? Oh, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
You're here at the right time, man. I'm just talking LSU national championships. I
Ah,
appreciate you joining us, man.
I'll see you in like 30 minutes.
So no, when he showed up, man, he works his tail off, dude. I mean, he really does, man. He's as hard as worker as anybody else on the staff, and you could see that. And so we're in a good spot. You never know what can happen, but you got to, in these moments, you definitely got to embrace them and live in them. But you got to like also what's headed in the future. He like I said, he gets it, and so it's really nice. And Tiger Nation, we love our baseball down there in the bayou. So that's always big, and it's a good time right now. So it's a good time right now. Let's go, Tigers.
Congrats. Congrats. H Post, I gotta acknowledge the early super chat. Donations. Got some donations early on. H Post said, I'd love to see Uncle Lou on the SEC Roundtable. Georgia fan. We all know who Uncle Lou is. He's big time, man. He's big time. We'd love to collab if we can. Maybe we can make that happen this year if he's willing to reach out to a small YouTuber like myself. Who knows? We'll see. Tran, we got Tran here in the building. What's up, man? How you doing, brother?
It's going pretty good. How's everyone doing?
He sounds
We're
so
good,
formal. How's
man.
everyone doing? Jim's here. BA he said, "Is that you?" Yes, it
Oh
is.
my goodness. What's up, Jim? Haven't even seen him
um,
in a minute.
y'all, let's talk ball. I'm ready to talk. I'm ready to talk football. I mean, we're coming up on this 2025 season, SEC season, our second season. Tran and I in the SEC. And a year that's really really interesting in terms of where we're at in the sport of college football, where we'll be with NIL come July 1st and the House versus NCAA ruling, where we'll be with the SEC versus the Big Ten, if you will, in terms of the playoffs. But right now, in this current iteration, in this era, I think it's fair to say all three of us feel, or the four of us feel good about our football teams, right? Like, coming in, I always say this time of the year, it's, you want to talk about your strengths and your concerns, not necessarily your weaknesses or your questions. So Billy, with LSU, tell me if I'm wrong. This is kind of what I see from y'all. When I did this exercise the other day in terms of acknowledging who are legitimate people that can win the SEC, like legit contenders, and typically that's a group of maybe 3 or 4 teams. I have LSU in that mix. My obviously you have a returning quarterback in Garrett Nussmeier, who threw for 4,000 yards last year, 29 touchdowns. You're hoping, hey, he's just going to continue to roll from there. You got my son, Caden Durham from Duncanville. You got Harlem Berry coming in there. You still got Caleb Jackson in the backfield. This might be the best running back room y'all have had in quite a while. Your wide receiver room's ridiculous with you get Aaron Anderson back. You have Nick Anderson coming in from OU. You have Barry Brown coming in from Kentucky, which is crazy. That's Chris. Then you got Chris Hilton, Xavier Thompson. Like, y'all might have the best wide receiver room in the SEC. I think for me, I have 2 questions for you in terms of your team. The offensive line. How will Garrett Nussmeier operate now that Will Campbell and Emory Jones are in the NFL? And I didn't like what I saw when he didn't get elite offensive line play last season. And then Brian Kelly, is he on the hot seat? He hasn't won to my knowledge, he has not won a season opener. Y'all have a big one with Clemson. Talk to me about where you're at mentally with this LSU Tiger football team coming into 2025.
Well, I mean, I think first off, I mean, you look at the quarterback position, as we all know, right? And our last 10 years or so, the second year of a quarterback in the LSU system has really taken that next gear. You look at Joe Burrow, you look at Jaden Daniels, and now you have Nussmeier having that opportunity. So, with that being said, I think that we're in good shape with that, with where he stands. I think we're going to be good offensively. At the end of the day, it's a weird deal. Last year, we threw the ball really well, 4,000 yards, right, bunch of touchdowns, but we couldn't run the ball. Like, we really weren't very good at running the ball. We got better late in the season, but it was too late. So what I'm looking for, and yes, obviously there's questions on the line. You lose a top 5 pick, you lose Emory Jones, and then you lose your tackles. I mean your guards. But one of the guards was hurt most of the year, so we got a guy in there to play, and then the center had to come up a freshman center play. So we got some experience for about 3 guys that are going to be in there. Also, Tyreek Adams is going to come in at the left tackle spot. I expect some pretty good things from him. I like where we sit there. Now, obviously, it's a question mark. You got to prove yourself at the end of the day. But last year was really an anomaly almost. You think your O-line is going to be dominant in all phases, and we weren't. So that's interesting to me. We need to make sure that our game plan is better. I think that's what we saw towards the end of the year. Some things changed in how we wanted to game plan and attack the run and our schemes, and we did a much better job. The thing about Nussmeier, he has to stay out of those games where he goes nuts for about a quarter and throws like 2 or 3 picks. He did that against A&M, and they got the ball inside the 35 on 2 or 3 possessions, and they punched him in. Like those type of things. Look, if you throw a pick on a 60-yard bomb, okay, we can live with some things like that. But we got to manage the game better, and I think he will. No doubt about it. I think he will. In the weapons, I mean, you didn't say one that's pretty important, and that's Trey'Dez Green. And so,
Yep. Also a basketball player. Yep.
Right. And so that the options are there, right? We should be really good offensively. I think last year our defense actually took a big step up because the prior 2 or 3 years, I mean, we were brutal, brother, bad, and that's just not really what LSU. That's not how we've been. And so last year we definitely took a step up. I think we got the Delaney kid, the cornerback from Virginia Tech, who's going to help us big time. You got the young boy DJ Pritchard coming in, or Pickett. the 5-star 6'4" cornerback who probably could just probably play wherever. But then you got your linebackers. So Weeks, had a late, but he's back injury. Perkins had an injury. He'll be back. So that linebacker core, I'm looking big things from them. Then the D-line now, we have another year of really focusing on the trenches. We did lose y'all's boy, who was then our boy. He's gone. But we brought in, a potential Hall of Famer who's from Louisiana, and Kyle Williams, who went to West Monroe, who's going to work. There ain't no doubt. That's just who that guy is. So can we continue that step forward? At the end of the day, we might still lose our first game, and that's the reality. Okay, that's it's unfortunate, but we're going on the road, and they're a really good team too, right? And so we got to make sure we don't lose our focus and let that ruin our season. I think that's the key right now. Don't lose this. Don't lose the season on one game. Okay. Now, do I think it's important we win that game? Yes, obviously, but it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge. And so I want us to make sure that we understand that it's a long season, right? And we know that. We know how it could swing. You could start the season 7-0, lose 2 in a row, whatever, right? I want to make sure we stay the course. That's what I want to make sure. We always seem under Brian Kelly, to kind of sway to your second question, to have that game that's really unexplainable. And so we need to make sure we don't have that this year. And we need to start better. If we go to Clemson and we lose 35-31 and it's a great game, I can live with stuff like that. But some of these games that have started the year under him don't sit well with me. It looks like lack of preparation. I'm not really sure if that's the case.
I agree.
That's what it says on the field. Okay. And so we need to make sure that we understand it's game one and it's go. You can't go in the second half. That's what we did in all these games, right? We need to go from the jump. And I hope with the second-year quarterback that should be something that he understands, and I think he will. So is Brian Kelly on the hot seat? I mean, I think it's TBD. I mean, if things go bad and we're 8-4, yeah, because I actually do think we have a really good team. The pieces we brought in the transfer portal, it added nothing but depth and big, people that know how to play football, that have already done it at other places at a high level. So you add that to the existing roster. It's the best roster we've had under Brian Kelly. I'll tell you that. Okay. The O-line is young, but then we got the Virginia Tech center that came over. Is he going to start at center? Or we'll see, because those guys weren't there yet. They're just now getting over here. So we'll see how it shapes out come game one. But yes, I mean, this is the best roster he's had. I have expectations of us making the playoffs. If it goes 8-4 and it's an ugly year, well, yeah, there's going to be some pressure. And so that's where we're at today.
So I guess my first question, and this is Trey and BA, please jump in. But when we're talking LSU, I feel like Brian Kelly has to make the playoffs. Is that fair? I mean, granted, injuries, there's context. I think with context,
of course,
right? With context, if you get the injury bug, you can't control those things. But I don't know, BA Tran, how y'all feel about that when it comes to LSU and BK?
I agree with you. I mean, you look at Coach O. Look what he did. He went to Natty and he's out. What, 1 or 2 years later? You set a precedent. You have a high standard. Has BK lived up to it? Not yet. But he has an awesome opportunity this year, starting at quarterback. Like you mentioned, great ground game, great receivers. What does the O-line do? Yes, you lose Campbell, you lose studs, but you still have the talent to compete. With the expanded playoffs, if you're not a playoff team, something went wrong. That's how I feel.
Yeah. So the way I feel is BK left a playoff team to come to the Bayou to play for a national championship. And guess what? That team he left for just played for a national championship. So that's where I'm looking at it from a hot seat perspective. You can't have your predecessor outclass you at a school that shouldn't be outclassing you in football right now. And that's my opinion. I agree with everything Billy said. I think this team is stacked. I really do. You know that Brian Kelly's going to have a great offensive team regardless. You just needed the defense to catch up, and I think you have all the pieces there to make a run at something.
I mean, I understand. At the end of the day, the goal at LSU is to win the national championship, and nobody gives a damn if you played. Okay, if you played in it, I'm just saying like that's the reality of it. And so like for me, if we're in the playoffs this year, we should be. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, that's awesome. We check the box. That's great, right? But at the end of the day, we're trying to go win the thing, right? And we're in a spot to do it. And so that needs to be. There's goals, and you got to hit different tiers throughout the year. We understand all that, right? But at the end of the day, we need to get in the playoffs, and we need to go after it. And that's my main thing. I think we're all on board on that. I didn't like the way we started the last couple of years. That irks me. This year might be the same. I just listen. If we lose the game and it's a competitive game and we played well and those type of things, and it's last person gets ball wins, something like that. Hey, I can live with stuff like that because it's on the road. It's at their place. It's all about how we do it, right? But getting down,
I mean, I've said the same thing though, Billy, with Texas Ohio State. Like, it's not. It doesn't in this current iteration of college football. A loss doesn't kill you at
right,
all, especially the first week.
right,
I think for you guys, it's the fact that you've had problems at openers, and like you said, it's like obvious preparation thing, like the special team stuff. Like it looks goofy sometimes, and it's like, what the hell are they like? Did they not finish camp on time? Like it
right,
looks just disorganized. And I think you guys at LSU we've seen that too much to where we want to see again. Clemson's supposed to be very very good. We were the last team that played them, and they showed up in Austin ready
right,
to fight, right? So they're going to be even better this year with what they've done. This is one of Dabo's best teams that he's had probably since before COVID. So or since COVID, right? Like the Trevor Lawrence year. So
right.
that there's no shame in going down there, like you said, and losing a fight. But I do think when I look at like pulling up y'all's schedule, and this is I guess the last question I have before we transition to BA is how do you feel about the schedule, Billy? Like, it looks like y'all have what? Y'all have Louisiana Tech after the LSU game, and then Florida comes in, right? Like, and you got Florida, you got Ole Miss, South Carolina, Vanderbilt, A&M comes to LSU, you go to Bama. I actually think you guys, finish the season okay. You finish your year at OU in November. I mean, what say you about the schedule itself? I don't think outside of the Clemson game, I don't think your schedule's crazy.
I think it's deep. I think it's a deep schedule. I think the team there's some matchups in there that are definitely going to wear you down throughout the year. I think they can be manageable. I think we can win those games. I would really, really like to win the first one. I'm going to be like, I really would like to, but at the end of the day, that doesn't happen. We got to get back on it, and we got to get back on that train. I mean, that's the facts. And so, I mean, look, we got the team to do it. You got to go do it. I think at the end of the day, you got to get it done. I like where we sit right now. I like what the roster looks like. I like, what we did in the off season. We were going to pay a bunch of money to a freshman quarterback that went to Michigan. Well, we used that money on all these transfers, and it's made our roster much better than it's been. And so I'm looking forward to it. That's what I'll say. And I think the schedule's manageable. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to go beat them, right? And so we'll see how it goes.
BA, what say you about this before we transition over to your team? I just wanted to show the schedule to folks that may not be familiar with how LSU's slate looks.
Who the hell is Southeastern Louisiana Lions?
That's the Southern Conference, bro.
It's that tune-up, baby.
Hell yeah. Got to get them breaks. You got to get them breaks in between. I like the way it's set up. So, like, you turn around, you play Louisiana Tech, kind of regroup at home. Then Florida's coming to town. They got us last year. That usually that series is whoever's home wins kind of type deal. Not always, but and then you get a little tune up with Southeastern, and then Ole Miss. Then you got off, which I think is huge because South Carolina, they're going to come to town. They're mad at last year's game. And then we go to Vandy, their little quarterback will be running around throwing it and doing some things. And then the Aggies come back home. So, it sets up pretty well considering, there'll be a big game in Bryant-Denny, obviously. And then you wrap up the year, Arkansas, Oklahoma. So the way it's set up, the way it's constructed, is definitely for success. But, you still got to get out there and win it. So,
I mean, I'm looking at this and I'm looking at the first 5 games, and I think that's going to be very telling. Now, the positive thing there is you got Florida at home. You go on the road to Ole Miss, and you have the neutral side. Are you at Clemson or neutral side? I couldn't tell.
At Clemson.
No, they're at
Clemson.
Clemson.
Okay. So yeah, first 5 games are going to tell us a lot. Like, do you come out of that 4-1? Do you come out of that 2-3? That's going to kind of give us a good idea of where your season's going to head, because I do think, looking at this, both of those are good possibility. You could be 4-1, you could be 5-0, but you could also be 2-3. Florida, they're going to be upgraded. Clemson, they were a playoff team last year. Ole Miss, they're always competitive. Like, how do you do in those first 5 games? I think will tell us a lot about how your season will play out.
So, Brandon, let's transition over to A&M, brother. What say you, Mike Elko, year 2? I thought the bowl game helped, the win that you guys had against USC in Vegas, and ultimately you lost Le'Veon Moss. That was a big loss. I thought he was at that point when you lost him, he was probably your best offensive player, or at least your most consistent offensive player. Where do we go from here with some of the stuff you guys lost personnel wise to the draft, but still having a lot of talent on that defense? I look at Marcel Reed. I personally like Marcel Reed. I know that, and this is coming from a Texas fan. What I like about him is his temperament and his fit with Colin Klein. I thought he just fit way better than Weigman. I told you that at the beginning of the year. I think you agreed with me. Ultimately, it was frustrating, I think, how things played out after the Notre Dame game until Reed really kind of took over. I like his leadership. I like, obviously, him being a dual threat. The thing is, can he develop as a passer? And can you guys help him in that area? Or is he just, kind of this guy that's going to be, an average quarterback that has wheels, essentially, right? What is the progression for him? But yeah, I'll turn it over to you, man. Talk to me about Texas A&M coming in 2025.
Well, sadly, you said we won against USC. We did not.
Oh, y'all didn't? My bad. Hey,
he always set you up, B.
We did not.
Got
my bad,
something.
dog.
Even when he don't even
I'm
try.
not gonna.
My head.
Hey, I
Charge it to my
appreciate
head,
it,
not my
and
heart.
we were winning that game for
Charge
the
it to my
majority.
head, not my heart. I'm so sorry, BA. I did not mean anything by that, brother.
It's
I
all
love
good.
you, man.
Hey, I'm just not gonna push a false narrative for us by any means. But honestly, I love Mike Elko. I'll start with that. I think he is the right coach for Texas A&M. He understands the culture. He understands what the university is about when he was a defensive coordinator, and that is something we haven't had at Texas A&M. Hell, since I was there back in the day, since before then, actually. So it's nice to have that too. I mean, one thing about him is I remember early on in his press conference, he said, "Hey, if there's issues, we need to be able to identify it and address it." Issue number 1, to your point, we didn't have any deep threats or really a good passing game to complement a very good run game before Le'Veon Moss went down. What do we do in this portal and off season? Go get Casey Concepcion, obvious wide receiver 1. Go get Craver from Mississippi State, a freshman, a young guy who can take the top off, and you recruit very well from the high school ranks as well. So you go and address that. I agree with you on the Marcel Reed thing, but now I think a full off season with him and Klein figuring out, hey, what is it you do well? What can we do to help you perform better throughout the season will be beneficial. Last year, I think the offense was more in the offseason constructed for Connor Whitman. That was the that was going in. He was in QB1, so understanding what he did well is not necessarily the same thing as what Marcel Reed does well, as we saw against Billy and LSU. But then as we saw against other teams, people who stacked the box and we didn't have those targets on the outside, we kind of got stale. He wouldn't Marcel Reed necessarily wasn't making the right progressions, or sometimes, from what I saw, bailing too early out of the pocket to use his legs when they had a spy. How does he evolve in this offseason? How do we help him as far as just giving him targets, whether it be through tight end and getting Black, giving him opportunities? Thor, he was pretty much a great receiving tight end. He reminded me of he plays for the Stallions. Gosh Almighty. I'll come back to it. But how do we develop these opportunities passing the ball just to make sure people aren't stacking the box offensively? So we address some of those needs. We'll see how it plays out. Defensively, we lost a lot, especially in the draft, losing both Shamar Stewart, Shamar Turner, Nick Scorton. Those were, definitely cornerstones of a defense. But also that secondary, most of it's coming back. So they have another year under their belt. They're veterans now. They understand what we want to do. I think Cassius Howell is going to be a name that you become very familiar with, and his limited opportunities, he's able to put pressure on QBs. We saw it against USC. That's something that we really didn't have. Is someone like you guys are very familiar with Hill, someone who could just come off the edge and create havoc. We really didn't have that much last year. I think Cassius Howell is going to be that for us. So I'm excited to see what the defense does. We also brought in Lyle Hemphill from James Madison, and he was a defensive coordinator there. And I think that was pretty much a move that Elko made that has not been talked about a lot yet, but will be talked about because of his creativity and ways he can bring pressure from multiple fronts on defensive stand or defensive side of the ball. So overall, I'm excited. Now, to summarize it, this team will only go as far as Marcel Reed takes us. We have entire offensive line coming back, so those guys are going to be good. We get Mark Nobu back, so I'm not really too worried about the offensive line. We get our good stable of running backs both back, and Le'Veon Moss. And
what is the status on Le'Veon Moss present day?
That's a great question. I know he was taking reps during the spring, but I don't know if he's 100%, 80%, 85%. I don't know at this point. But I know Ruben Owens, he's a full participant. So
Right, right. And you still have Amari Daniels as well. That's a crazy running back room y'all have. Y'all are really deep in your running back room. And like you said, you combine that with, it sounds like all the offensive linemen are back.
yep.
To me, y'all should be nasty running the football then.
I
With
mean,
those
barring
back,
injury.
barring injury, but like even with Marcel Reed as a run threat, I feel
Right.
like
That's might
y'all
want to
should
be
be
where
able
you
to
hook
run the
it.
rock.
I mean, you would have thought that last year, but look what happened when Le'Veon Moss goes down. We really couldn't run the ball anymore, or at least we weren't as efficient doing it after he went down.
So how do you feel about the Notre Dame game?
Well, I mean, I'd feel a lot better if it was in Kyle again, but it's not. So, but it's a very, I mean, again, having a veteran offensive line, having Marcel Reed, I think gives some comfort there. But also, that's a good team. I mean, so going into a hostile environment, a very big stadium, a very football, legacy place, a football royalty place. You never know what's going to happen, but I think not to steal Billy here, but if we go in there and we lose and it's competitive, that doesn't falter what we can accomplish throughout the season and what our goals will be.
Tran, Billy, what are you guys' thoughts on Texas A&M coming in 2025?
I'll let Tran go first.
What are they coming off an 8-4 season? Off of a first year head coach, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you. I do like Elko as a coach. I like him as a defensive coordinator completely. I do think he's going to make proper changes and adjustments to make or at least hold people accountable to make those adjustments from an offensive standpoint. Because to tell you the truth, the defense was there. I mean, the defense was a pretty standout unit. Yes, you are replacing three very good defensive tackles or D ends or D line participants. But that's where the recruiting and the portal have come into play, and that's where y'all have gotten a lot of success from. So I mean, I I really you can't judge a team off of the first loss or the first game. I want to see what they look like during the middle portions of the season. Like when do they play South Carolina again? That's going to be a good judgment for me
It's at
because
home this year, though.
yeah, it is at home, but that that exposed a lot of holes in A&M was the USC games particularly, and I want to see how they shore up those holes, especially with losing like uh, the defensive line threat that they had that actually got pressure on that quarterback. I want to see how they scheme for that. So I want to see particularly around the South Carolina game.
Billy.
Yeah, I think to piggyback that, I mean, gotta love Elko. I mean, guy, you know, if anything, you know what you're getting, and you know he's there to coach football. And so that checks a lot of boxes for building a team, right? I mean, because if you don't have a team, as we all know, we've all had our locker room issues that can dissolve a team quickly, even when you might be winning at the initial moment. It always shows its head in the long run. And your offense I think you have to find a way to really. I mean, I don't think the passing game. You want to have obviously some threats, and you want them, to be as balanced as possible. But I mean, if I'm going into season and today, that could change. I mean, I'd be hanging my hat, no doubt about it, on running the ball. I would find different formations, different, schemes. I mean, I'd be ready for anything if something's not working. I just think you have that opportunity when you have the backs you have and your quarterback, right? Now, at the same time, got to be careful with your quarterback, right? You don't want to get him hurt, okay? And so that's also something that you have to understand in this. And your defense, how do you reload? We know Elko and the D line's probably, that's what he's going to be ready there. But you still got to put pressure on the quarterback, and you still got to stop the run, right? Just like all our teams. But I think that's what you look at. And can your secondary improve? I think it improved last year. Still probably needs to take the next step, I would say. But you got to like where you're at and like what he's doing. There's no doubt. I mean, from what I see. So,
I'm with you, Billy. I need to see the secondary improve. I'm talking to you, Dalton Brooks and Bryce Anderson. Those guys, to me, they were better football players than they showed, particularly at the end of the season. And I'm not just talking about pass defense. Their tackling was atrocious at times. At times, I'm not saying all throughout the season, BA, but at times, some of the angles that Dalton Brooks would take were puzzling to me. And to me, you made a point about the experience that you guys have. That needs to pay off in a big way for Texas A&M. Hill's played a lot of football at this point. No more excuses. Dalton Brooks has played a lot of football. Bryce Anderson's played a lot of football. These y'all have some of the oldest in terms of starts, right? In the SEC, y'all have some of the most experience overall, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's before any of the transfers that have played at a at a high level. So and then at your second level, you still have Torian York, who's probably your best all around player. You still have Scooby. Like, y'all got people. Regis came back on the defensive line. DJ Hicks needs to take the next step. I see guys at all three levels that are capable. My thing is, can they play that way for an entire season? Because there were stretches last year where, like, when y'all entered November and y'all were at the top of the conference, y'all were playing good ball, sound ball, and then something happened. Like, and I think the South Carolina, I don't know if it was the South Carolina game that broke y'all or the Auburn game, but like something happened where we just started seeing just mess. And so I need those guys that have played a lot of football to be better. I mean, to be fair, I mean, y'all, even us, like Texas run game last year was very inconsistent. We popped off running the ball against y'all. We didn't score a whole lot of points because we were inconsistent in the red zone, but we were running the ball. So like Brandon, talk to me about your expectations for the defense in terms of getting back to that standard that they were showing earlier in the year and playing that way for a full season under Mike Elko.
Yeah, again, I think that's where Lyle Hemphill comes in a lot, and I think that's why it's kind of something that happened under the radar. You look at what James Madison did and what he was able to do with that team, and they were a top 50 defense, both passing and rushing. So you're bringing in another mind to help Elko and Jay Bateman really figure out how to make this defense operate on all cylinders. Now, I would say one thing that if you look at last year, we actually did not pressure the quarterback much, even though we had all that talent on the defensive line. I think if we're able to pressure the quarterback this year, which again, I think hashes how Marco Jones in the spring game almost seemed unblockable, I think they will find ways to create more pressure, which is going to help those defensive backs, cover better. I mean, Trey and I coach flag football, and sometimes we're asking those kids to cover for 5 seconds. That's hard. When you get an elite level covering for 4 seconds, that is very hard to do. So if we're not getting that pressure, we're asking a lot of those guys. But I think that one little change, as far as just finding ways to create pressure, whether it's bringing six more often than we did last year, because if you look at the defense, we really didn't blitz too much. We relied on that talented defense line to get pressure. But do we blitz more? Do we have more elite edge play this year that can help that secondary? I think that's something to look out for. I do agree with you. We need Hicks to step up on the run game. Bringing in, I'm going to butcher his name, from Iowa. That should help. So I'm not even going to, out of respect, I'm not going to butcher his name. But bringing in those guys who can help fill in that void in the middle is definitely something that they addressed in the portal and off season. So, all this is speculation until we see the product on the field. But I am encouraged because I do think the moves that were made were very encouraging.
So let's talk about y'all's schedule. And I'm gonna bring it up here for those again who aren't familiar with the A&M schedule this year. It is coming, guys. All right. Hopefully everybody can see that. Sorry if it's a little small, but I'm streaming from the road. Let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger. There we go. So BA, you talk me through this. How do you feel about your schedule?
I mean, obviously Notre Dame will be a good litmus test for the early season to see where we stand. But there's no way, in my opinion, we shouldn't be 5-1, 6-0 to start. I mean, we were very good last year in the same time. UTSA, Utah State, we should be able to fine tune, really figure out what we're, find our identity in those games. And then we go to Notre Dame and we see what we're about. Because I know they're going to be ready. I know, they're a well-coached team. They're going to be ready to fight. So we see what we're about. Then after that, we have time to regroup. Auburn, we owe them some payback. We owe them some payback. But they're coming to Kyle Field. Same with Mississippi State and in Florida. So we have 3 home games there that should help us out a lot as far as just building that momentum. After that, going to Arkansas, or as you like to say, Vietnam, that is, it's always a hostile place, but we handled them last year. We should handle them again this year. LSU, that's the next big test to me after Notre Dame as far as I'm concerned. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Florida is going to be improved. Arkansas is improved. Auburn is improved. But I don't think any of those are in the same level for me personally as LSU right now, as things stand today. So that'll be the next best test for us to see what we're about. With it being in Death Valley, that's always a concern. But hey, we they had a good defense last year. They took a step forward for sure, but for some reason, when Marcel Reed came into that game, it's like they forgot how to play defense. So maybe they get amnesia again for us. But the season sets up favorable for us early if we can take care of business. in some of these games, not play with our food, as we like to say. I think it sets up for us to be in a good position come November, and that's really all you can ask for in the SEC schedule.
I think Billy would choke somebody on the LSU sideline if they can't stop zone read again next
No,
season.
we have beat some of the best quarterbacks that's ever played in college the last 15, 20 years. We put Lamar Jackson in a box. Like, we're talking Patrick, like, we did these things. Marcel Reese, we didn't even do, we could, bro, you would have thought he was the greatest thing that's ever. I mean, it was ridiculous.
I mean, I'm pretty sure y'all played a mobile quarterback the week before, did you not?
I know. Well, no, it's crazy. It's like we didn't even have a game plan for him. That goes back to some of the times that I'm talking about of preparation and being ready for the moment and what could happen. And yeah. Anyway, yes.
That was one of the
yes.
most inexcusable things because you knew the potential was there for A&M to play two quarterbacks. It's not like
Of course.
Marcel Reed hadn't played all year, right?
Right.
Like, that was so inexcusable. Like LSU, you could tell they didn't have keys installed
No,
for him in the game.
they
They
did
had
not
no keys
prepare.
installed. So it's like pop quiz, and y'all only prepared for like one chapter and didn't do the other chapter
It was
at
crazy.
all.
It was crazy.
That can't happen again.
No.
But I mean, I like how this sets up
Hold on,
early
Steve.
for you guys. Oh, go ahead, Billy.
Whoever BTTS is, you're right. Jalen Milrose owns LSU. He sucks against everybody else, or you can't understand what he's doing. But let me tell you something. He's that guy against LSU. I'm glad he's gone. So you're all right. But anyway, moving back to BA. Sorry. He's had like 12 touchdowns in 2 years against us. He had like 300 yards passing, 200 rushing or something. I mean, just ridiculous. At home. Go ahead. I'm done.
I like the beginning of your. I mean, I like the fact that you play Notre Dame not first but third.
Yeah,
That's number one. I think that's going to matter. You'll have some film of CJ Carr, their young freshman quarterback that they're playing. I think Notre Dame's also playing a much tougher, not much tougher, but they are playing a tougher schedule, I should say, than they did last season. And you're trying to get a lick back. You talked about trying to get your lick back against Auburn. You're trying to get your lick back against Notre Dame as well, right? And trying to build up the resume. Maybe you can steal a game there and make up for a game in the SEC to help your playoff resume. Like, I don't see why you wouldn't be confident going into. Now, I think Notre Dame's defense is going to be amazing. Personally, I like what they have, but I think y'all can go up there and compete, and especially with two not tune-up. Those are not UTSA is not a tune-up game. Okay, Jeff Traylor, y'all need to prep for that BA. Okay,
yeah, he's a good coach.
Jeff Traylor is a good coach. Y'all need to prep for that. However, assuming y'all handle your business against UTSA and what was it, Utah State, and y'all should be in a good position to say, hey, we're going to put our best foot forward at Notre Dame and compete, right? Especially, and then you have a bye week after that.
Yep.
Before you come back home for 3 straight weeks at home. To me, this is, I don't know. I think these are favorable opportunities.
No, I agree.
These are all good football teams, but they're favorable in terms of where you're playing and what you want to see, in year 2. What's up, Jay? Good to see you, brother. Shout out to my brother Jay over there. Anybody else have any comments on A&M schedule here? Tran, any thoughts?
No, I mean, they play 5 out of the first 6 games at home. I mean, that's great to start off the year. And then
we're gonna need it.
Yeah. And then it breaks off easy. I mean, they got basically they got Arkansas and LSU back to back, which is going to be Florida, Arkansas, LSU back to back. It's going to be a tough go for anyone. It doesn't matter. But then you have the off schedule. You go to Mizzou. You get your lick back at South Carolina. Then you basically have a bye week, and then you got Texas. It shapes up very well for you.
Chat, tell me, how many wins do you guys see for A&M?
With all the disrespect to Sanford, too. Yes, that is a bye week.
Oh, yeah.
had that smoke for Florida a couple years ago. Don't forget.
Oh, yeah, they did.
They had that smoke for him. All right. Let me stop sharing this and come to our Tran and I's big fun team. Tran, how you feeling right now about Texas? Somebody today asked me about Arch. I get a lot of questions about Arch. For those who don't know, Steve Spurrier opened his mouth, and I saw the chat open up with it, so we will address it. We don't run from anything. Steve Spurrier's was basically, I'll paraphrase, but basically said, if Arch is all that, then why was he sitting behind a seventh round quarterback in Quinn Ewers all season? And Spurrier has a storied history with the Mannings and defeating them during his time. So I hear what he's saying. But all the seventh round smoke with Quinn, and why Arch was sitting. If that's the case, then why was Quinn the second team All SEC quarterback? If it's all about draft picks now, and he was that bad, and people want to act like Quinn was that held as was that average or not even barely draftable, how did he make second team All SEC? How did he lead this conference, this wonderful conference, in touchdown passes last year? And he missed time. He didn't play the whole season and still led the thing in touch. But that was a seventh round pick. So I don't know. That's what Steve Spurrier said. That's just my rebuttal to that. But Tran, what say you about this, our big, wonderful team here in Texas?
Am I touching on Steve Spurrier, or do I not give
you
a shit?
You can touch on whatever you want. That's the old ball coach.
I don't care. He's old. He's gone.
He don't coach no more.
He don't coach no more.
He's retired.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
But he owns them, so he's got to talk a little trash. Let's just be honest. That's all. Talk trash,
yeah. That's fine. It's whatever. He can say whatever he wants. As for our team, I'm happy with everything that's going on right now. Everything that I'm seeing, watching that, like they were going through practice right before my son went to camp there. They were all locked in. There was no like bullshitting around on the sidelines, which was awesome. It just looked like it was a well-oiled machine at this point. So to me, I was very impressed by the way that they conducted practice for the little bit that I saw. And, we're a returning semifinalist from last year. I mean, we talk about Quinn Ewers. I don't blame that loss completely on Quinn. I don't think that Sark should have called Quinn on a rollout play when he's not an athletic quarterback. Like let's just be real. Like we should have been. It should have been a closer game against Ohio State. So we get to see a lot our first week. That's what's so great about this season, is that we get to see what this team is early on, right away.
So speaking of that first week, and then I want to get Brandon and Billy's thoughts on this. I'm now hunkered down on this, and the way I've broken our schedule down all year is essentially our entire Q1 is just Ohio State, because after that, when you look at Texas's schedule, we played 3 straight G5 teams after the Ohio State game. Then we have a bye, and then we go to Florida. So to me, the Florida game is essentially the beginning of Q3, which is when we would start SEC play, and that's how I'm breaking the season up. So Q1, the way I'm looking at this, and people are talking about Arch and all of this, I do think that the Texas Ohio State game, and I think the over under is 50 right now, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Chat, please look that up. What is the point total over under for Texas Ohio State? I am taking the under. I think that game is going to be low scoring. I think both of those defenses are going to be well ahead of the offenses at that time on August 30th. And I do think that Steve Sarkisian, knowing what type of defense he's going to have coming into that game, I'm not saying he's going to be conservative with Arch or hide Arch. Arch has been in the program for 3 years. We should be full go, full menu. That's not my point. But I do think he is going to try to manage that game. And when you look at our playoff game before the Jack Sawyer fumble return for a touchdown that ended our season, it was 21-14 at the end of the game, essentially, when we were going in to try to tie it to make it 21-21. It was still wasn't this high scoring shootout. Even last year with Will Howard and all the weapons that they had, both teams, it was a solid chess match. Brian Hartline, I've said this over and over, is calling plays for the first time in his life on August 30th. Julian saying most likely, I know the Lincoln Kleinholz people are still out here and he's still holding out hope that he might win the job. But I think Julian saying is going to win that job. That's also going to be his first live action. And I think we might have the best pass rush in the country. So good luck. Good luck. I think that's going to be a low scoring football game. And I think Sark's going to be able to let his defense play. But, there's a lot of questions about, takeaways from the Ohio State game. And like Brandon and Billy have both said about their, early in the season, for both Texas and Ohio State, their teams are going to look way different at the end of the year as things ramp up as well. We have to consider that. And I don't think it's a killer for either one if they lose. But I'm curious to get everybody's thoughts on that as y'all look at that matchup or look at Texas in general. Anybody can take this.
Who's your receivers? I know you got the one guy back. Who else?
So
you got the
Wingo, DeAndre Moore.
Okay.
We have those 3 fab freshmen coming in,
and then we took Emmett Mosley,
and then Emmett Mosley
from Stanford.
Yeah,
and then we also have your boy Billy. You know who I'm talking about? White Chocolate, Parker Livingstone, who might be my starter. Who could be in the mix for Z. He had a big spring for us.
Yeah.
He had a really, really big spring, and he looks like he's all the way back from his ACL injury that he suffered in high school. He looked really healthy. He looks like the guy that ran, a high, very real low 200 meter. He was Parker Livingstone's more of a track guy at 6'4". So and then like as Tran said, those young freshman receiver. The thing is we don't have the typical proven guys per se, right? Last year, you probably would say Isaiah Bond was more proven coming from Bama after being their leading receiver for a playoff team. You'd probably say Matthew Golden was a little bit more proven. But we're excited. I'm really excited about our receivers this year, to be frank with you.
Cool. I mean, I think just to go back on the Quinn Ewers thing, I mean, and not that they're the same, but, Brock Purdy was supposed to be a first-round pick the year before, maybe the number 1 pick in the draft, and he was the last pick in the draft. So I don't know how you explain that. I don't know how that goes on. I mean, like, you mean to tell me nobody wanted to take a chance in the 5th round? Like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. That's just me. But whatever it might be. Now,
it's injuries. It's of course.
Injury. I mean, he doesn't show up a lot for games. He misses. I mean, I get it. Definitely. I mean, and he somebody said on here he's got a little Jekyll and Hyde in him, and I think we could all agree a little bit with that. In that front, I mean, your defense should be good again, right? I mean, you lose some pieces, but you still got a bunch of them. So. Let's see what your kicking game looks like. Obviously,
you brought up a sore spot, Billy. God bless.
It's part of it.
You address it though.
Yeah, I mean, they look like they fixed that, or you don't know until you know. With kickers, I mean, nobody wants to be a kicker. Let's be honest. You could be great for 5 years, and then the 6th year you're horrible. So it's a weird deal.
Get caught up in a terrible massage accident.
I didn't want to bring it up. It went through my mind. I just left it alone, though. I was going to stay clean today, God, boy.
This man framed it as an accident.
How many?
This man framed it as an accident.
15, 20 accidents or something.
I don't know. He's clumsy. He's clumsy.
Oh, yeah.
15 to 20 accidents.
Yeah, a couple few. Mm-hmm.
Oh, my Lord.
I think that's what you look at. And then the running game.
Bad influences, by the way.
Your running game, can you sustain that this year? I mean, as you mentioned earlier, definitely was hit and miss at times, which was very interesting. It's like beginning of the year you were killing it, and then it kind of went. I don't know. But can you sustain that? You're going to Ohio State. I mean, they lost a lot. And they lost a lot. I wouldn't be surprised to see y'all go up there and take that one. But you don't know until you know. It's going to be tough winning there, obviously. So y'all had success on the road in those games lately with Sark and the crew. So you got to like where you sit on that. How good your offense going to be, I think, is the question, right? I mean, if we're going to be right, the defense should be, I mean, a top
Yeah,
20 defense. I mean, maybe top 10. I mean, it
I
should be
think they'll
up
be
there.
top 10 again this year.
Yeah, I mean,
Agreed.
so
As long as the corners, as long as I mean, we lost.
Dude, our
Yeah,
pass rushes. I mean, we're stacked there.
yeah,
Our defensive line. We addressed the people who left. I mean, we've done a good job there. I think our linebacker crew could probably probably fight for the number one position in all of America. I really do. And the big loss, of course, is like the leadership from Jade Barron. Honestly, that's a huge unreplaceable loss for us. Just that having that vocal presence out there.
yeah. I mean, how it is. Sometimes the certain pieces to the puzzle just can
Mm-hmm.
they can take care of other people's issues, and we
Yep.
don't even necessarily know it, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, the corners, I would say, obviously, that's probably you know that's probably your point of emphasis to make sure we can get those guys. Y'all need to get those guys in line. And how where's your offense go? I think Arch is going to have some hiccups here and there. That's just kind of be part of the process.
yep.
And how does he handle them? Right? Do they compound, or does he knock them off? And so I think that's what you got to look at. I
I
mean,
think you're a good person to talk to about this, Billy, because when you look at Garrett Nussmeier, somebody also of NFL lineage, right? Not necessarily a Manning, but somebody that sat
yeah,
for a good while behind another, our the best player in the country. He sat behind,
right.
and then he took over. And you saw a guy that was obviously ready to play football, and he put up numbers. There's no doubt about it. I think it was just times where the gunslinger came out of him a little too much.
Oh, yeah.
Nuts don't play,
Well, he can
and
make some throws, Cuz he can
he
make some
can,
throws, bro.
but he's also an anticipation thrower,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
This is also why the NFL is very high on Garrett Nussmeier. It's not just the arm; it's also the
It's
fact that he
processing.
sees his
Yeah.
processing and he does see windows, and he will try to make OMG throws. He will. Sometimes they will look great, and Aaron Anderson is all of a sudden just the ball's here, and
Right.
then sometimes it's a nasty pick, right? And so trying to scale that. But my point with that is Arch, I think we're gonna see a very different type of Texas offense with Arch than we did with Quinn, where a lot of the stuff was underneath, a lot of screens, a lot of intermediate throws. I mean, the Mississippi State game, Arch is in there bombs away. Okay. And he's not normally in the Sark offense, your progression goes top, to middle to your
Right.
check down. And he loves taking that deep post. He loves taking the 7 route. Like, even if the dig route is coming open, he may ignore it. So those are the type of things I'm looking to see, where Garrett Nussmeier had to learn a lot about himself. Am I too greedy at times? I think that's something that will be similar with Arch, where he's putting up numbers, but you're still seeing the growing pains. You're
Hmm.
still seeing, okay, he does have some tendencies. My thing with us is, if we can jump on teams better, I don't think we did a good enough job, like, really jumping on people. I think that also helps our defense. If we start getting up on people 17-0,
Right.
20-3, now Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons look a lot scarier, right? Like, that's to me, you talk about a Manning. I'm thinking the way that the Colts used to play when they were in that dome, when they had Mathis and Freeney. And their goal every game was to get up 14-0, so that I'm going to make you throw. You're not going to hide. I'm going to make you
Right.
throw to try to catch up. and now my guys can hunt. That's how they were. That's how those Colts teams were built. So that I think that was that's what we like to see as Texas fans. But we'll see. Ba, how do you feel about us?
So I look at it from a couple of different perspectives. One, you lost a lot on the offensive line. What does that look like? Um, you're right on the offense looking differently. So health is a concern because I do think, you look at Sark's offenses, he wants to run the ball. If you're healthy on the offensive line, healthy in the running back room, can Arch stay healthy? Because he's going to be a factor in that as well. Receivers, you got those. Running backs, you got those. We talked about defense helping A&M secondary. I think your defensive line is going to do wonders for your secondary. So to me, it's like looking at the schedule. How does Arch do on the road at Ohio State, at Florida, Mississippi State? Those cowbells are annoying. I promise you, they're terribly annoying. Kentucky, Georgia. How does he do on the road? I think that really is going to factor into how the season plays out. The talent's there. Sark's done a great job building this culture, building that program for you guys. I mean, and it's coming from me. So it's not like something I want to see, but it's something that I can't ignore of what he's done. So those are my main concerns. I think you did well filling in the D tackle spot of what you lost in the draft. Going out and getting a big boy from Purdue and North Carolina. Hell, I wanted the one from North Carolina myself. So I think y'all did well there.
Didn't we get one from Syracuse too?
Yeah, Murad Watson.
Yeah.
Freshman All-American.
Yep.
Y'all did
by Fran Brown.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's right. It was Syracuse D tackles, the tight end.
Yeah.
But yeah, y'all did well there. You're again doing things right, but losing that offensive line, because to me that was very much a strength last year, is you had that offensive line play basically almost the entire season together, and they I want to say the year before it was mostly the same guys, and now
They had
you're
a lot of
replacing
experience.
all but one maybe. And in this league and the SEC, it's about the trenches. So how does that unit come together? I mean, they're going to be tested early in Ohio State. Then you got time to figure it out, make the adjustments. But how does that unit come together, especially when you start October 4th going to Florida?
One thing you had mentioned earlier, Steve, and you're talking about Sark's offense and the way he likes to essentially lead in this passing game with taking the top off. I think that's actually lost y'all a couple games at times, to where y'all get into a borderline, let me throw a bunch of Hail Marys, right? They're not necessarily Hail Marys, but I think you know what I mean. I think if Manning can understand that, which I think he's capable of that, where he doesn't necessarily need that, it is what it is. Can a quarterback take the check down, right? I mean, that's some games you have to do that. I think at times in Sark's offense, y'all get a little heavy with the deep ball. I think even fans would agree with that, and I think it's cost some games. Can that intermediate to dump down be successful, and do you stay the course under pressure? I think is one thing I want to see from Arch, that I obviously think it's in his system. It's just who he is and who the family is. So that's one thing I'm interested in seeing as well.
I actually disagree with you, Billy. I don't think I do think they take shots, but I think their shots are strategic. I do think that they like Steve said, they work a lot of intermediary routes.
We're just low percentage. We weren't hitting them.
Right. And they took strategic shots, just wasn't there. Like they would overthrow,
well, it's not strategic if it's not successful. Strategic means that you're successful.
Hey, we're talking two different things. Scheming up the right play and connecting, hey, that's two different things right there. We know that from 5-on-5. You can have the right play, but if you don't connect, it's just
We didn't. To be honest with you, Nuss had all them yards last year, and we weren't very good with the deep ball. Chris Hilton being out all last year, pretty much that killed us. We didn't have the burner. We thought maybe the Daniels kid would be one, but he wasn't. But with Chris Hilton and now also with the Kentucky boy Brown in there, we have other options. So I'm looking forward to that, because Nuss wasn't very good with the deep ball last year. A lot of times it was, like you said, anticipation, good throws, and reading holes. And we had chances. We just were, like we're talking about, off the hands. There was just a tad overthrown. So that's one thing I'm focusing on with Nuss this year too, is how much better is his deep ball.
Yeah, that was something that Jaden Daniels was able to develop
Yeah,
his
his
second year
second
in
year.
particular, that he became elite and it carried over obviously into his NFL play. But he also was throwing to Malik
Yeah,
Neighbors, and Brian
Makes it
Thomas
easy.
Jr.
yeah.
He
It's not
y'all
that difficult.
them Infinity Stones.
Yeah. I mean, those guys are just gonna just throw it close, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, but it does matter in terms of how people are playing you
yeah,
and opening up the field if you're able to hit on those things consistently. I've said this before, and people don't like it when I say it, but to me, it's the truth. I do think our offense is going to look like 2021 when we had Casey Thompson, and till this day he was still the most consistent deep passer, which isn't saying much. When you think about everybody we've had at Texas these first 4 years under Sark, Hudson Card, Casey Thompson, Quinn Ewers, Malik Murphy, Arch, right? Like I think now with Arch, I do think some of those shots we were hitting that first year under Sark. Granted, we weren't successful as a football team. We just weren't. The culture wasn't there yet. But in terms of the chunk OMG plays, I do think the offense could look more like that than it has the recent years where we have. I don't want to say dink and dunk. That's not
right.
it's not fair to Quinn. But y'all know how we've played the last couple of years, and that's with us going to the playoffs 2 years in a row, right? So the complementary football has been there. It's just I want to see, and that's going to be the thing that you guys said that we don't have an answer for right now that is accurate. Is Arch has not played on the road as a starter. We have no idea. We've seen proof of concept at DKR. It's awesome proof of concept so far, but on the road in those environments, especially when people are when people are game planning for you
Right.
and your tendencies as the season goes on, more film is out there. That's why Sark is there to help navigate that journey. The other thing I wanted to address, and I want to get Trans thoughts on this with our offensive line, because BA, you're right about replacing 4 starters. Our only returning starter is DJ Campbell, who is now in great shape. He was not in great shape before. He's now in great shape. I think there's an opportunity to have a more physical offensive line. Is experience and as solid those guys were, and our guys were, I would say, we played at an elite level from a pass pro perspective, right? Kelvin Banks doesn't go top 10 without being, what he was at left tackle. Let's not play games here.
Right.
But Cam Williams, his penalties aside, the consistency, especially once he got hurt, was an issue last year. We'll see. We don't know what we're going to get from Brandon Baker. But I do know I do have a good feeling about Trevor Gooseby because of when he was asked to play. I do have a good feeling about Cole Hudson at center next to DJ, who's played a lot of football and started a whole year. Like, I think if those guys were more physical, and I'm not trying to throw any shade, but Jake Majors would have got drafted if he was more physical, like, and consistent at the point of attack with strength. Hayden Connor would have gone higher than the 6th round or whatever round he went. And again, it's no shade at those guys, but they would have gone higher. Big Cam would have gone higher if they were playing better ball. I do think there's an opportunity for some improvement there. Tran, am I tripping, or what do you think there?
No, you're not. You're not. You're not too far off base because you have to look at who the people that you named. They're all upperclassmen. That means they've had 2 to 3 years of weight training, specifically for handling the grind of a long season. So they've had that experience. They have gotten in games. It's not like they haven't played any games. Now, where we will struggle probably is in pass pro. I do think that there will be a little struggles in pass pro. But if we're talking about getting a push off the line, we have the size to handle that, and we have the tenure to handle that as well.
Yeah, you're right. I do think we take a dip in pass pro, but we have a more mobile quarterback than we did before. So that's the cat and mouse game there.
One thing I'm not necessarily worried about, but I'm interested to see on development from the running back position. Like, who's going to take that Jaden Blue role? Who's going to be the one that's coming receiving out of the backfield? Because that's a huge part of Sark's offense. Is that running back on the wheel route? I even CJ Baxter, I don't recall him having many receptions as a freshman. Who's going to be developing that little muscle and that skill?
Yeah, Baxter caught. I think he caught like 20 something passes. So he wasn't.
Did he?
He was. Yeah, he was solid out of the backfield. Now it wasn't 44 like Blue and Wisner caught 40. They had 88 catches between the two of
Yeah.
them out of the backfield, which is crazy. I think some of that was because of the quarterback and who was playing, and just that's how we. And it wasn't a bad thing. We were productive. I also think there's going to be some plays where CJ Baxter is going to have to pick up some of that trend. Just that's going to have to be his skill
And
set. I know he's not that type of player, but
and I'm still worried that both BA and I know about the knee injuries. It's a good 15 months before you're
back all the way. They I know.
I love lip service too. like I gotta see it. I gotta see it because it takes a lot to get over that mentally. Honestly.
Well, let me do this just to finish up the roundtable because we're over an hour and this has flown by because we've just been it's been good. I've learned a lot from y'all about your teams. By the way, this is very helpful and educational. Contenders for the SEC. Let's talk SEC outright.
Are we gonna bring up the schedule real quick for us?
We can't. We can. Do you want to go over the schedule real quick?
I want to hear their opinion about it.
All right.
Hell, I kind of gave my opinion. I mean, to me, your schedule really comes into play October 4th. You go to Florida. Basically, what do you do in the SEC? What is your SEC record? Do you go 5-2? Do you go 8-0? That's what your schedule looks like to me. I mean, it's very favorable. From my perspective, especially at the end of the season, you end with us and Arkansas at home, but you have Georgia on the road before Arkansas. And again, what does Arch do? Florida, Ohio State, Kentucky, in my opinion. Like, what does he do on the road? And that, being the starter, being the person, as Steve said, as teams have more film towards October, November, what do you do on the road? Especially if you're concerned about the pass pro, do people come with exotic blitzes? Do people, try to confuse you or the offensive line that's new and may struggle in pass pro? What do you do on the road? But, I don't see you guys not being SEC contender. I don't see you guys not being in the playoffs at this point. But that's just me.
I think obviously we already talked enough. We know about Ohio State week 1, right? And I think you circle that at Florida.
Yep.
That's going
SEC
to be,
opener.
Yeah, and that's a tough place to play. And they're going to be. I would assume they should be improved. They seem to be improving as the year went on. Does Langway take that next step? Right. I think that's a look at, and then I think everything else is manageable. You just got to avoid those. There's always that one game, right? We all know. Can you avoid that game? Not, you might get down early, or you might let a team back in, but can you find a way to get it done, right? And I mean, you play Georgia. What week is that? I can't see the bottom half of that schedule. So you got the bye, and then at Georgia, Arkansas, A&M. So those 3 games, we know about Arkansas and you guys, right? I mean, that's a rivalry.
Game. Yep.
Yeah. It's at the house.
We end the season with 2. We end the season with back-to-back rivalry games.
Yeah.
Old SWC rivalries too.
Yeah. At the house, though. That's the one. I mean, if you want to end the year with 2 rivalry games, it's never doesn't hurt to be at the house. I'll just say that. So it sets up nicely for you guys, I think. I mean, you got to like it. You don't let Boomer get any type of encouragement in that rivalry. That seems y'all have that good. I think you win that one again. But you never know with that game. But I like how y'all set up. I mean, that's definitely a schedule that tells me you definitely look like a playoff team. And we'll see how it goes. But
Well,
He
that's been
definitely
one of the fun things under Sark, at least last year in particular, was winning all 3 rivalry games. I think that, but our goal right now, I mean, I don't think it's natty or bust. I don't think it's fair to say that, especially in this current era.
right.
But I do think I really want to win the conference this year, Billy. To me, the kicking situation that cost us in that SEC championship game against Georgia just still hurts for that group of guys that was there and I thought played well enough that day to be better than Georgia, and I thought we did, but the kicking situation has to, you know, I think we've addressed it, but it has to be better. The Florida game, to me, out of all of this, if Florida's trying to get their lick back because they sat people against us.
Because Lagway was
We did.
hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, once
Yeah,
they knew Lagway wasn't going to play. Remember they started the third. What's his face? Graham Mertz had already torn his ACL. They
right.
played their third stringer in Austin, and I remember. I don't think anybody in the secondary played from that was a starter. Like they sat a lot of people to kind of gas up for the end of the season for them to get Billy Napier to save Billy Napier's job. And they kind of punted. And the reason why I say they're trying to get their lick back is that was the one game where we kind of ran it up a little bit in Austin. And I know that they haven't forgotten that. And Florida, I think, is going to be a very physical team running the football. That's one thing I'm excited about this year in the SEC. I think there's a lot of teams that are going to have really good run games. I think Florida's running game might be the best in the conference. I think LSU's run game is going to be good. A&M's run game should be great. Texas's run game, like when I start looking around the conference, Ahmad Hardy's now at Missouri. There's some people that are going to be able to run the damn ball. So that Florida game, that's a game that you know. I'm glad we have a bye week to before we head down there. I'll put
Oh
it
yeah,
that way.
yeah, oh yeah. They're going to be improved. Their roster's better than they've had, it seems. They actually seem to have some confidence going now with Napier, with Langway, which makes a difference, as we all know. So
Something
we'll
else
see.
I'm be paying attention to. Your red zone scoring. I think if you guys could,
111th in the country last year
yeah.
in red zone offense.
I was just thinking about that and your offense and all the newness. If you can improve that, yes, definitely. But if it stays the same, I'm curious how that would fare out in a season.
I think having a running quarterback or an athletic quarterback is going to help out a lot on those numbers.
But we already talked about with Marcel as well. That also opens up for more injury.
They're not allowed to hit a Manning though.
We're supposed to keep that in the DL about the Manning whistle. Come on, bro. Don't put that energy out there. You know the Manning.
That's not how it works in the Bayou. I'll promise you that, cuz you better go look up some stats on the Mannings.
We ain't playing, y'all. That's
I
fine.
know. We good, huh? Y'all good, huh?
I tell you what, he might have gotten the end zone against us, but he definitely felt it the whole time. So,
So just to wrap this up, I mean, who are the real? And I'm not talking about. You can maybe name a dark horse or so, right? If things break right, but who are the real contenders in the S? Because to me, I'm right now my teams, and I said this a few weeks ago for those who were watching. I still have. I think Alabama's defense is going to be really freaking good this year. I think they will run the ball better from their backs. Milroe ran for 20 touchdowns last year, but they didn't run the ball well with
They
their
hadn't ran the
backs.
ball in a
Jam
couple
Miller
of
didn't
years,
get up,
bro.
and they fumbled the ball a lot too. So I got to see Alabama, but I think Ryan Grubb. I think Alabama for sure. They're a contender. That defense is too good not to be. Texas. I have Georgia and LSU. After that, I'm sorry. After that, I have questions. Right? Like to me, like I have teams like Tennessee, A&M that are teetering.
South
Florida.
Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah, I was going to say
I
South
think
Carolina.
my
They're
thing with South
sneaky.
Carolina is, I think they might be top heavy.
Yeah, I don't know if their
They,
roster.
I don't
What
know
their
if they have the
roster.
depth.
their
Right.
depth isn't there, but you got to look at like their losses last year. Their losses were razor thin, and they were to very good teams. They were was it to Georgia or did they beat Georgia? It was to Georgia and also to Alabama. I think was two of their losses. And LSU,
Yeah.
There you go. And they were razor thin.
Yeah, and the LSU game, they were up like 17-0 in
Yeah.
that game. They got walked down in that game, but I remember they came out hair on fire. That game
Oh
day
yeah.
was there that day.
Yeah. Yeah. We got
So
lucky. We got lucky to get out of there with a win. I'll just tell you that. That was one of those
That's
games.
true.
You
That
take
is
your
true.
bags and you just get on the bus and get out of there, bro. Oh yeah.
are people selling Georgia short? Like I've noticed that a lot of people don't like Gunnar Stockton for whatever reason. I thought he was fine in the Notre Dame game in the Sugar Bowl. All
Because he
things
looks like
considered.
a young Sling Blade. Is that why? Where's Surfer Boy?
Where is
Never,
Surfer
ch-
Boy?
Boy?
never change, Tran. Never change.
Nah.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
but
I'm not
What?
selling Georgia short. I
Yeah.
mean,
They got
I
the best
think
coach in the country.
great coaching, but also, I mean, now they have a whole offseason to figure out what Gunnar Stockton can do best and tailor the offense around him versus throwing him in a situation and an offense that was built for somebody else. But the defense, I still think is going to be well coached. I mean, you got Kirby Smart there. You know they're going to be stout on defense. But, I mean, I'm with you, Steve. I think those four that you mentioned are the same four that I would have. And then after that, it's just kind of, hey, what happens with A&M? What happens with South Carolina? Possibly Florida if they can figure something out and stay healthy. But I think that the four that you mentioned are the four that I would, if I was a betting man, would put my money on.
say you, Billy.
I think you're on it. I mean, I think that that's can we just beat Clemson game one? Can we get a nugget? Can we get a nugget, man? Come on, man. I mean, we'd have dealt with some heartbreak, bro, in game one, dude. Come
Hey,
on.
you
Can
know
we
what?
get
At this
one?
point, Billy, I would want to lose the first game because that's just what you do. You know, if you win, you might lose two later in the season. Would you want to trade that?
Nah, they trying to get that energy right though. Ba, I mean,
Yeah, that's
that win would. I think LSU that would catapult them.
I agree.
I
I agree.
really do. I think they would play that Florida game that after I mean we saw a lot of Texas squeeze in between there, but I think that Florida game would look a lot different. You go into that game confident, not desperate.
Right. Two different things. Yep.
Yeah, mentally, right?
Yep. No, I mean, I want it. We need it. Let's see. Let's see if we can get out of there. It's just, you go on the road with a senior quarterback 4 years who's a stud, like they got to, it's going to be
It's
difficult.
contract year for Nuss. Hey, the NFL's
Well,
that.
I was talking about old boy from Clemson. But yeah, both of
Oh,
them are
Klubnik.
contract
Yeah,
year.
both of them. Both
That's
of
what I'm
them did.
getting at his place, 4 year starter. Yeah, I mean that. Somebody said on the chat they lost 2 games at home last year. So if that means anything, I'll take it.
No, Nussmeyer versus Cade Klubnik is definitely must see TV. I knew Cade Klubnik would come along, especially under Riley. It just took longer than I thought, but they there now.
Yeah, they were
He was
firing
he
it up.
was he, Bubba was scary in Austin. Okay,
Hmm.
him, Antonio Williams, T.J. Moore, Wesco. They look like T. Higgins and
Oh
Justin
yeah,
Ross all over again
yeah, they were
when
good.
Trevor Lawrence had. That's how they look. So you know, real curious to see that matchup with you guys. But no, those guys are competing. I know people like to gas up number 15 at Penn State, Drew Aller. To me, he was the reason why his team didn't make it to the national championship game. I didn't see Klubnik choking like that guy was choking. But I'm not a Drew Aller guy. I've made that pretty clear. But hey, if he comes around and people think he's the next Josh Allen and all this type of stuff, hey, I'll gladly admit I was wrong. But I don't know. I don't trust Drew Aller at Penn State, but that's neither here nor there.
We'll see. I think it's interesting because we're all, Brandon loves his trajectory, and as he should. We like our roster. I think our roster at LSU really is what has put a lot of confidence on with us, is the depth that we have on the D line now and within the offensive line, and then at the skill spots. Like, our depth is, we hadn't had it in a while, so injuries here or there, it would really put a damper on us. And so I
But
hope,
you said Sadir Mitchell. He left. He left your team. What happened?
no,
Or is he still there?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about somebody else. Yeah, because my boy Sadir should come on this year. I'm
Yeah, we
still
got
rooting for
we
him.
got to we got to. I mean, McKinley, the 5-star, that dude played a lot down the stretch, and he had like 2 or 3
Yeah.
sacks the last couple games. Like, we got some. I mean, we got the DN from Florida. Like, we have the depth. The linebackers are back. With the DB, like, should be a good year. But at the end of the day, you got to execute, and so that's what it's going to be up to.
Name of the game. All right, we got
Yeah.
2 more minutes. Tran, who are your SEC contenders?
I think we're all aligned, honestly. I really do. I think those. I mean, dark horse, A&M, Florida, USC in my eyes on that fifth spot.
I think a team that could be scary, depending on how they coach their quarterback and what happens with him, is Auburn. Um, Jackson Arnold was awful last year. We all know this. Can he be resurrected by Hugh Freeze? Because the rest of that Auburn team is, on paper, they're the weirdest team I can't figure out, because on paper, if you go look at their Pro Football Focus grades, you would have thought they were the top ten team. Seriously, defense, like, they have NFL people all over the place. Then you have Cam Coleman. They bring in Eric Singleton Jr. from Georgia Tech, who we wanted. That Auburn team is just weird to me. If they get anything out of Jackson Arnold that's consistently productive, that could be a scary team. But I don't think anybody trusts them. They just have the goofiest losses. Like,
I
Yeah,
mean,
and I don't
last
know if
year
that.
that was
can you
wild.
trust them at this point? And I also
Right.
think that's a team you mentioned top heavy with South Carolina. I think they're another top heavy team. Yes, on paper, one maybe too deep at most positions. Great. After that, where's your rotation? That's how I see them. And you need a
That's fair.
rotation in this league. Like, it's too deep, it's too physical, it's too aggressive.
Does anybody have OU contending here? Because these OU fans just, I applaud you guys for being consistent here in the chat. I know y'all follow me to some of y'all are following to stay up to date on stuff. Some of y'all follow me to troll. Either way, y'all give me the views I need. So I appreciate it. like Floyd Mayweather once said, some watch to see me lose, some watch to see me win. Either way, they all pay.
Yeah.
So does anybody have OU as a contender?
I got OU getting. I got Venables getting fired.
Damn.
I don't know. You
Brandon went deeper than I did. Nah, motherfuckers
Damn.
are out.
I just don't see it. I mean, hey, I would love for it. I mean, again, I enjoy when they beat y'all in a Red River rivalry, but I just don't. There's nothing that's been shown over the past couple of seasons that gives me faith that it's going to change this season.
I mean,
Damn.
they're gonna have to prove it. That's just that's where they're at right now. I mean, they got to be better than they've been. That's just a
Seriously,
fact.
yeah.
That's a fact. I mean, it's
Yeah.
that simple.
I mean, it's a proud football team, so I think if they end the season the same way they ended the season last year, I think that I do believe that Brennan is gone.
Man, shout out to BV. Hopefully he can. I don't mind him being their coach at Texas.
I know you don't.
I don't mind.
I wouldn't
it at
either if I was you.
They're doing the Charlie Strong move that he did in 2016 when they went and got Sterling Gilbert. Now granted, Ben Arbuckle. To be fair to Ben Arbuckle, he is way more proven than Sterling Gilbert. Sterling Gilbert hadn't even called plays. But my
Yeah.
point is, that year Charlie Strong made that desperation move to bring in this home run coordinator, and marry him with Shane Buechele to basically save his job, right? Because the offense was just tragic, and it didn't work out. Deontay Foreman ended up winning the Doak, but in
We
terms
ran
of
the
winning on the
ball 42 times a game.
Yeah, I was about to say he averaged
it,
35 carries a game that year. But yeah.
it didn't, but it wasn't giving what we were looking for. I do
Mama,
think that the John Mateer Ben Arbuckle combination is here to save his job. That's just the way I see it. I don't think OU fans will tolerate. That's the they've had good offense since Mike Leach in 2000, bro. They're not going to tolerate that type of offense another year in a row. They have had arguably the best quarterback play you could ask for in the last 20 years. And you think about all the OU quarterbacks over the last 25 years now. They're not going to tolerate if like John Mateer has to be. I've said it before because he was Cam Ward's backup at Washington State. He has to be another Cam Ward at Miami. Like he has to come there and they play Michigan week 2. They got to cook week 2. People got to see it, or else I just think that OU fan base will bury him. I mean, they almost got there last year, so BA might be right. BA, that was a hot take, but you might be
I
right,
mean,
bro.
hey, what are we sitting June 24th? I mean, we'll see how things are in the season, but as of right now, I don't see it.
that Michigan game
Seth,
will tell us a lot about whether because they're gonna play defense in Ann Arbor. That's how they roll. So let's see what the offense can do. I don't expect some high scoring game. Heck, it might be, but I doubt it. If they can just sustain some drives, and I mean, last year, whew, that was, whew, whew, it looked like some Les Miles, man. We just would win 10-9, back then. It looked like some Les Miles offenses, bro.
I was on YouTube the other day and they showed the game where y'all ran the clock out on yourselves.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Like just the
Trust me.
dumb shit that used to happen with Les.
We also should have ran it out against Tennessee and they let us snap it somehow. So no, it was wild, bro. It was like a roller coaster. He started out, he came over like he was known as like an offensive guy, and we run all kind of cool trick plays and do all kind of like in good moments. He just quit calling those, started just turning around. I mean, we go play Alabama. We have Leonard Fournette. All we do is just run it inside all day. Think we just gonna pound it down Alabama's throat. They got Daron Reed and the other Jordan Allen. Like really,
Bro, y'all literally were
and
running
still
into a
almost
brick
won all those games.
wall.
It's crazy.
But the Fournette years, that was just a gross misuse offensively
Terrible.
of those Fournette years. That was like Texas in the early 2000s versus OU, where we just didn't have it schematically for whatever reason. Like we just didn't. We just run. We scored 3 points, 0 points.
Got first
Like
round
just
receivers on the outside, first round O
right.
linemen, running backs, and we averaging 17 a game. I mean, come on.
All
Anyway,
right. Parting thoughts. Who wants to go first on their parting thoughts?
I'll finish it. I mean, I'll go. Thanks for having me. Good to be back. Let's do it one more time before we kick this off or somewhere in here.
I
I
like it.
think that uh, as a Tiger right now, we're doing good. Coming off that national championship, pretty dominant performance all the way around. Seems to be good. So let's see if we can carry it over because we do seem to win national championships in odd years. So let's see if that can hold serve.
Go Tigers. Coach O voice.
That's right.
Tran, you want to go?
I'll let Brandon go.
Okay.
All right, well, um, I'm excited. I really am. Year one, 8 wins. I didn't really expect that. I didn't know what to expect. But as long as we continue that trajectory, and this year's better than last year, I think we're in a good place. You see how quickly Sark was able to change the culture in UT. Elko had a similar situation. He has to come in, change the culture, get people to buy in. He's doing just that. So I'm very excited to see where the season heads. For me personally, it's just all about Marcel Reed right now. How does he throw enough and to make people respect the pass. That will tell a lot about our season. People just can't stack the box and make us one dimensional. I think the defense is going to be an Elko wrecking crew style defense. He makes the adjustments there. But I'm just excited for the season. I'm excited for kickoff and just see how things play out.
And one thing I forgot to mention with your team, BA, I know you talked about KC Concepcion from NC State. He is a problem. That was one of the top receivers, if not, I think he's at least top 3 in the portal. He's a problem. I think you're 100% right when you say he's a bona fide number 1. My guy Terry Bussey. I just want to see him. I do want to see him be used and just be it sounds like he's going to be an offensive player.
Yep.
I thought the plan was for him to be a corner and be Champ Bailey, but it sounds like he's now wide receiver 2 potentially.
I think last year made it a necessity for him to go on the offensive side of the ball, and
I love Terry Bussey.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
Me
But
too.
I think bringing in KC, bringing in Craver is just going to open up more opportunity for him. Last year was mostly just a jet sweep guy. It seemed like it's like, man, I really want to see him do more than just that. I know he has that ability. We saw it in the state championship game, and I think bringing in those guys, 1, he can learn from them, but 2, they're going to open up space for him to really show what he can do. So, but again, it's going to be Marcel Reed's got to be efficient and distributing the ball, completing those passes in order to make it happen. So unless that happens, I mean, we're talking for not right now, but we'll see. I'm excited.
Damn, David Keith Williams comparing Terry Bussey to the great Ramonce Taylor. If he had come to Texas, we wanted him bad.
Yeah, he
But
made
we got
the right
Jermaine
decision.
Bishop. We got Jermaine Bishop in this class, who's very similar, in my opinion. Anyway, Tran, take it away. What's your parting thoughts, sir?
So honestly, the anticipation and the excitement of college football has not hit me yet, to tell you the truth. I know it's right around the corner, but it doesn't really hit me until NCAA comes out around mid-July is when it hits me. But I'm just so happy and fortunate to be on the phone with y'all or be on the line with y'all. We have that text message that goes on throughout the day, which that's the chat that y'all want to read, but you'll never read it.
That's a chat keeping me out of heaven.
But I just love it when my boys are around and we get to just chop it up and shoot the shit.
Hey, y'all want to plug your the gorilla, the silverbacks, real quick? What y'all are doing? No, seriously, because I'm really proud of y'all, and from a business standpoint, what you're doing with these kids. But go ahead and plug your stuff.
For sure. So what Steve is talking about is Silverback Select FFC, which is a flag football club located in Round Rock, Texas. But kids from all over are coming to be a part of what we have going on. We started last year, and within a year, we've already won a few championships and become a pretty household brand in the flag football and 7-on-7 world here locally. So we're just trying to continue to expand that. What we focus on is discipline, leadership, and development. We want these boys to be accountable. Our goal is not for them to win championships now, but they hear their names called draft day and just build that foundation now that'll propel them through high school, college, and wherever they may go. And if it's not on a football field or playing or in sports in general, then they have the leadership and development to be successful in life. So if you have a kid who's looking to be a part of a growing organization that's doing things the right way, give us a shout.
Thank you, BA. Thank you, Tran. Y'all are doing great work for those kids. I've seen it up close. I know the parents are very grateful for y'all's services and just seeing the growth of these kids over the course of the last couple of years has been amazing. And I'm really proud of what y'all have built. Just, the time, effort it takes outside of your families, outside of having kids, outside of your full-time job, like all that. And to build this up, to help these kids in the community, y'all go check them out. Silverback FFC in Round Rock, Texas. So, fellas, I appreciate y'all coming on. And, like I said, it's free to show love. Hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 15K by August 30th, Texas versus Ohio State in Columbus. Hit the like button. Helps us out with the algorithm, the whole bit. Appreciate y'all. Horns always up. BA, Billy, thanks for coming on.
I appreciate y'all.
Appreciate it. Tigers.